Welcome everyone! Today we are counting down the 7 rarest tanks in World of Tanks. World of Tanks console to be more specific, and we're going to be jumping into why these tanks are rare, as well as showing off some gameplay performance in the background and talking about them, kind of mini reviews. And I've got 7 of them here, and in our first spot we have the KV-13. It is a tier 7 Russian medium tank that you seldom see on the battlefield these days. In fact, you seldom ever saw this tank on the battlefield. And that is because of where it sits in the tech tree, and where it still sits in the tech tree after all these years. The only thing it does is allow you to go from the A43 to the ISM. It used to be that you could use this tank to go to the IS from the A43, and it bridged all these different tech trees, but you don't get the KV-13 to grind. You get it just because you feel like it, because if you're grinding the IS-7 line, then you're probably playing the heavies. If you're grinding the T-62A line, you're probably playing the mediums. And so this tank was just kind of awkwardly there, and there was no reason for it other than a bridge between. And you're going to notice that being a trend among these tanks, is they are kind of bridges, or there are better alternate routes around these tanks that we're going to be showing off for you guys. But yeah, first on the list is the KV-13. You hardly ever see the KV-13. Only people who know what they're doing basically play this tank, who know about the bridge, and nobody plays this tank to grind to a different tech tree. It's just not how it works. The VK3002D and the VK3001D, the tier 6 as well. Tier 7 German medium tank. It leads up to the Leopard 1, and the only thing that this tank has that the Leopard 1 and Leopard Prototype have at tier 8 and tier 9 is mobility. The gun on this tank is trash. I'm shooting nothing but premium rounds, and I have 194 millimeters of premium penetration on the VKD. It is so bad at tier 7. Like, I have less penetration than the Panther does on its standard rounds, and the gun handling is bad, but you have a really nice reload. The thing is, the T-34-88 at tier 6 has the same exact gun as this, and it performs better. This is a tier 7. So keep that in mind, just how bad that is. Now, why is this tank rare? Why don't people play it? Well, like before, as you can see, the light tanks bypass this. You can go to the SP-1C or the Hawk 12. Both of those go straight past this tank and the tier 6. In fact, you can even go past the Indian Panzer if you use the Hawk 12. You can jump straight to the Leopards, and so that is why this tank is usually bypassed and not seen that much on the battlefield. Now, you'll see it a lot among bots when you're playing the lower tiers and not enough people are playing. This tank is used by the bot community, aka non-real players, and that's really the only time you're gonna get to see this tank. Otherwise, people are not using it, and so yeah, it's an abysmal gun. Lots of speed, no gun handling, no penetration. Decent alpha, but the T20 laughs. The T20 also has like 241 millimeters of premium penetration, by the way. Yeah, you have over 50 more, basically. Actually, just about 50 more penetration than this thing does. So yeah, and 10 degrees of gun depression, and you can take a vertical stabilizer, which you can't do on this tank. And the T20 also goes fast and is a lower profile. So it's this tank is kind of useless. It really, really is. Unless you're allowed to use a DPM and you're fighting baby tanks. That's the only time this tank actually does well. The tier 7 T-34-1 and tier 8 T-34-2. These are Chinese medium tanks. As you can see, they have the same treatment as the VK, where you can just use the light tanks to bypass. In fact, I hadn't even researched the tier 8 yet. And I had never even bought this tier 7 because I used the light tanks to grind through. And most people are doing the same thing. And I was looking at this tank and wondering, why do so many people skip it? It looks amazing. It's got a 100 millimeter gun. Everybody was like, and it was a weird time. When the T-34-100 came out, the TVP line, the Unicums were obsessed with it. They couldn't believe there was a T-34 with 100 millimeter at tier 7. Absolutely crazy. And I'm wondering myself, who cares? You have the T-34-1. It already has 100 millimeter. Why don't people talk about this tank? Why don't people talk about the gun that this thing has? And then I played it today, and I understood. The gun is awful. The mobility is bad. It's got horrible power to weight ratio. It's a punchy gun when it hits, just like the VK. You know, you got 250 alpha on this thing, and you have 175 millimeters of standard pen and like 217 premium, which is really, really good compared to the VKD. But again, you just suffer because you don't have very good gun handling. But when you're allowed to shoot side tanks like this, it does pretty well. But otherwise, the T-34-100, even though it's a bit bigger and probably has less... it's just bigger. I think it's just bigger. That's the only thing. It's just better because it's got better gun handling. And I think better DPM, and it's got 250 millimeters of heat penetration, and I think it takes a vertical stabilizer. And this thing has no gun depression over the back, as you could just see there. No gun depression. And so that is another thing that really haunts this tank. Not a great tank. I understand why people bypass it through the lights. The lights were really fun. The lights were great, especially the tier 7 and 8. I thought those were great. No list could ever be complete without the Churchill game carrier or gun carrier. It's just the bridge between the Churchill 1 and the AT-7. That is it. That is the only purpose it has in this game. But I think it's a good tank. If you're wondering, it has 280 alpha damage, 220 penetration at tier 6. That's on its standard. It's got the same gun as the Carnarvon at tier 8. Absolutely a crazy gun on this tier 6. The issue being it goes 25 kilometers an hour, has no armor to speak of, poor camouflage values, poor gun arc values, poor gun depression. It's tall, it's big. The only thing it has going for it is the gun. Basically, you may as well play, if you have one, the box tank, the SU-100Y. They're virtually the same tank, except the SU-100Y just has a huge 130mm gun, rather than this 83mm gun, I think it is. But still, 280 alpha, we rip people apart, we roll 234 there. Trust me, it's a high alpha with a gun, I promise. Boop. And it's very accurate. It's a phenomenal gun. If you're able to set up like we were in this game and just farm people who are making mistakes, it does well. There's the alpha. Ready? Boom. 303 damage done. A good game we had here in the Churchill, but it is rare. You don't see it. You're going to see people in the AT-8 more often because if they're grinding up the Death Star line, the Tortoise line, the Badger line, then they're probably not playing the Churchills. And this tank does not bridge from the AT-2 to the Black Prince. It only bridges from the Churchill 1 to the AT-7. So there's no cross bridge here, which if there was, I think this tank would be used a little bit more. But it's not. And so, that is where this tank rests as one that is seldom played here in World of Tanks. Sticking with the British theme, we have the Firefly. Another tank that I hardly ever see, and I skipped as well. And if we take a look, you will see that this line, the Sherman 3 and the Firefly, skip the Archer and the Achilles. That's it. I think this tank is played a little bit more than the other ones listed, or at least I see a touch more. But again, if you're grinding the FV4005, the Death Star Stage 2 line, then you're probably playing the tank destroyers. I do believe that this is worth grinding out. I think the Achilles is a fantastic tank, but the Archer just isn't worth it, so you may as well play the Sherman 3, and you may as well play the Firefly. I think they are phenomenal tanks. If you like the M4 Sherman, you'll like the Sherman 3. And then the Firefly is just probably the best Sherman. At least it has the best gun. It's got the 17-pounder, 171 millimeters of penetration. Basically, the VKD that we talked about earlier wishes it had this gun. It wishes it could compare. Speaking of Firefly, there is one next to me, but that is a bot, and in front of us is another bot. And that's what I mean. You will see bots play these tanks, but real players, probably not. The Boilermaker exists as well, and a lot of people have it, and so they'd rather play the Boilermaker. And same with the Firefly VC. I think that tank was free at one point as well, and so those are just tanks that people would rather play than, you know, grinding for the Firefly, which they can just skip. And so that is the Firefly, why you don't see it much in the game. The Lraine 40T bridges from the AMX 5100 to the Batchat 12T, and again, that's all it does. It doesn't go the other way. If it went the other way, we'd be talking. This tank used to be incredible. It was a 6-round autoloader at tier 9 that was introduced, and it was the only way to get to the Batchat. Now you can use the Batchat AP to get to it. And this is the perfect situation you would think to find yourself in. You find yourself a Patton, you catch him out, you put 3 shells into him, you try to bait the other shot, but the gun on this is so bad. It is absolutely abysmal, the shots that are missed. And, there's no point to this tank. And this is one of the rarest tanks. If you see somebody playing this tank, they're probably a good player, simply because they're probably trying to ace it or get 3 marks in it. Nobody is playing it to grind. Unless you just absolutely don't want to grind up the French light tank line, which I don't know why you wouldn't. That line is incredible, and it leads to 3 tanks. It leads to the AMX-30B, AMX-13105, and the Bat Chat 25T. It leads to 3 tanks. Absolutely crazy. And there's the gun again, just flying high right. This gun, this gun frustrates me so very much. But it's got 232 millimeters of standard penetration, which is very nice on AP rounds. Very high penetrating AP rounds, some of the highest in the game. But I mean, this is a situation you want to be in. 2.7 seconds in your clip. If this thing had 2.5, it might be a little bit better. But look, watch the gun. Just went underneath the tank, and that's gonna be it. We're not gonna find another shot. He's gonna face us. Shoot our own ally, and then there's the lower plate. Actually, we do put it in. It's just it's just a frustrating tank. I'd rather play the Bat Chat AP and not grind this tank, even though I love it. I love it, but I hate it. It's one of those. Last on this list, and most certainly not least, in fact, probably the best tank. It's the T10, and you're thinking to yourself, CloneGuy, the T10? Isn't the T10 everywhere? Well, it used to be everywhere. But CloneGuy, the T10, doesn't it grind to the 277? It does, but you're forgetting something, and that is the 257. The 257 goes both to the IS-7 and the 277, while the T10 only goes to 277. And so the question is, why would you grind this tank if you then have to grind out the 277? Like, you have to grind 2 tanks. When if you get to 257, you only have to grind 1 tank. And that is why most people don't play this tank. But to tell you the truth, it is much better than the 257. Like, you are missing out. If you are not playing this tank, and you're playing the 257, you are missing out. The gun is phenomenal. I wish the 277 was half as good as this at tier 10. If they took the T10, maybe gave it a little bit more DPM, and gave it 2,300 hit points, it would be a tier 10. This tank's gun is so good, and I wish desperately that the gun performed on the 277 as well as it performs on the T10. T10 is just, it's just so good, and I would encourage anyone to give it a try. Absolutely give it a try. You are not going to be disappointed. You might be disappointed by the armor, but again, it plays more like the 277. In fact, I'd say it plays more like the IS-7 than the 257 does, but that's just me. That is my opinion, and that's what these top 7 lists are, my opinion. I do not believe these tanks are played much, and there is good reason for that, and hopefully we are able to outline why these tanks are not played as much. Let me know which of these tanks you still play, you still like, or is maybe your guilty pleasure, or perhaps which of these you've never played before. Which ones have you bypassed? Leave those in the comments below. I would love to know. I love to hear from you, and reach back out. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a like, thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already. 48% of you people who watch my channel are not subscribed, so make sure you're subscribing so that we can continue to put out fantastic content for you guys. And that, my friends, is going to be it. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you later. Make sure you join us on Sunday, 2 days from today, for a huge live stream I'm excited about. I'm excited to do some playing, do some grinding, and most importantly, hosting a fantastic charity event for a good friend of mine. Vidal is his name. He's allowed us to give his name, Vidal. We are helping him move closer to a hospital. He's 4 hours away. He needs to go 2-3 times a week. And so it's like, okay, we're gonna host this, and we're gonna get you closer, so that you don't have to worry about that drive. And so he can have in-house care, because he needs that as well. So that's what we're doing, helping out a fellow tanker. So join us on Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, for a 12-hour live stream. We're going to be joined by Slapafish Jr., Sod Madhaven, and even Der Super Unicorn. Yep, I almost said Der Super Unicorn, but no, he's Der Super Unicorn. Yeah, so join us, have some fun, have some laughs, and I'll be seeing you guys all later. Take care, everyone, and peace out.